everybody. Ready to jump right in today and get this thing finished up. So I'm going to start with putting the trim. I've been talking about that. I'm going to have a finished look on this. I'm going to trim this up. I happen to own a couple different drills, so you know, for something like this, I don't want to end up cracking it. So I'm going to pre-drill holes, and instead of switching my drill bit as well as my screw head off and on, back and forth, I've got one drill set up to just drill some screw holes or some, you know, bit hole, whatever, some holes, and then the other one to drive the screws through. So piece of trim is obviously wider than the edges, than the plywood, etc. So it's going to give it a little more finished look. It's actually going to close that in and create that illusion of each box as being a room. Yes, it will close it so as she's playing, there's not, you know, there's a little bit less arm room to reach in there, I guess you could say, but it will give it that appearance of a room. So that being said, also, like, I have to kind of center this. And I'm just eyeballing it. I'm not gonna like measure and make sure it's like 1/4 of an inch off on this side and 1/4 of an inch on that side. So and I'm gonna go ahead and get the first screw in on this vertical post so that it can stay up and I don't have to hold on to it. Now I'm going to help myself out a little bit because I pre-cut these. Unfortunately, I did not label which was going where, but I'm going to do these cross ones because I can always compensate with the outside edges, and if it needs to be farther away, farther out, then it can be. However, this one is pretty far, so I'm going to try to move this over a little bit, see if I can. Alright, this is going to be edged in there, so I need to notch that out. That is up there. This switch marked for a very slight notch, and I need to just notch that out so that that can slide in there. I have a plethora of saws I could use for that, and Dremels, and much finer cuts, but I'm going to risk it for the quick. In fact, that's a metal blade in there, but I think it'll be okay. I didn't realize I grabbed the metal blade. I actually thought I grabbed a wood one. I'm noticing it now. I'm going to try this saw. It's the quickest, and I'm just going to risk it. It's such a small cut. I can knock it out pretty easily. So I cut down, you can see that. I'm actually going to take, I don't think I have any chisels, so I'm just going to take the largest flat tip screwdriver I have, and I think I could just chip that little edge out. I think. That went nice. And we're back. So stick that at its notch. Fits very nicely. How though, however, am I going to get to stay? That is the question. The return of the infamous popsicle stick. Does it still work? Still working like a glove. Do gloves work? I don't know. Well, it's working, whether it's like a glove or not. You know what? I'm gonna cut this out. This, I don't know how I got off by that much, but I want that in a little bit farther, so I'm gonna notch this. You guys have seen me notch things, so I'm gonna pause the video, come back to you. I've seen me cut 100 things already, so. Alright, I stepped away for a moment, got some slight modifications. I didn't cut out a ton of this. I mean, I could have afforded to have a little bit more cut out, but I didn't want to be making a huge mess of it, so. Now I'm gonna put these brackets on, which of course these are just random hardware for curtain rods that I had in the garage from a curtain somewhere or other. We didn't use all the pieces, I don't know. But they'll work perfectly for what I need right now. So we need to figure out exactly where the elevator needs to be. It needs to be right, we don't want any higher than that. And we're gonna hook these outwards, so. There we go. So let's see. Perfect. Our elevator rests there. We're up top here. That's all good. Got these brackets in. I'm going to put two pieces across the top here that are a little bit thicker because I ran out of this size wood that I bought. I didn't have any more. They're slightly thicker. They're going to be kind of, you know, going up the roof into the rafters anyways, so almost distinguishes a different, like that's not, you know, a play area, I guess you could say. So that's okay, but those pieces are still drying, so I'm going to put them on later. So we're going to move along to one of our last jobs, and that's going to be the shutters. Alright, so I practiced with one of these already to make sure it works out. These are going to be the shutters on the windows, and they're so brittle, and the best way to do it is to just take a sharp utility knife and score so that it gives you a clean, straight break. The backside may tear back a little bit, but that's not going to be in view, so it doesn't really matter on that end of it. And yeah, these are just easier to break rather than try and cut or anything like that. So they're just over 5 inches. So then I'm going right smack about the middle. I'm just going a hair above 2.5 inches and breaking them in two. So perfect example right there of why I am doing the edges before cutting the middle. So now this one's a little bit shorter and I can adjust ultimately, because the grand total was only like a, I don't know, less than 1/4 inch shorter now. Cutting it in half, it's only going to be 1/8 inch shorter of a shutter. And when it's on, if I keep these two together on one window, so let's say if this one's this tall, a different window, yeah, it's going to be off by, like it's going to be slightly shorter. It's not going to be something you notice. So actually I'm going to set those two there so I make sure I keep those paired together. You may notice if you had the left side of your window shutter was really short and the right side was really long, but if they're together, one window versus another window, you won't notice that. Alright guys, I tested it with one already to see how it works. So I'm just using my wife's hot glue gun. Really never used one of these, but you know, pretty straightforward. Glue, hot, stick. I had a panic moment because I've got 3 of these left to go and I ran out of glue and I got mad. I'm like, I don't know what else to use and I don't want to be left with 3 of these to go for completing it. And then I realized right on my own workbench in the garage, which is not a traditionally normal spot for them, I found one more piece of glue stick or whatever. So in fact, I stepped back, I'm gonna straighten a few of these out because I was nervous more about losing the glue than getting them on, and so I think I might come back to a couple of these and reapply them straight. The Barbie dream house is finally complete. I am so glad that this is a completed project. The best of times, the worst of times. A lot of good stuff out of this. A lot of frustrating things. Some ideas that I had in my head did not pan out and I had to scale back. Some things came through. It was a fun project. It took a lot longer, especially with learning how to film and narrate and then edit video rather than just coming out and working. I learned a lot. This was like the first big project and I wanted to do something inexpensive to start out with this journey on YouTube. And you know, one of the big things I learned out the gates is when there's a small mistake I make and I'm in my garage working by myself and I adapt and figure it out, whatever, it's nothing. It's like, yeah, you learned, you grew from it. When you're narrating and you're, you know, editing and you're telling a story and putting it out on Facebook and everybody sees every little mistake that happens, it definitely makes you more self-conscious of those mistakes. But yeah, so happy about this one. I think the bottom line is that I really didn't spend a lot of money. I think I spent more on Barbie furniture than I did on the actual materials for this job. And for just fooling around and most of the material being stuff that was lying around my garage, you know, even the paints, other than that bright pink spray paint, this was just paint that I randomly had in the house, the tile, all kinds of things that were just here. So yeah, I'm happy with it and excited to see what I've got coming next to you. If you guys would, remember to like, subscribe, comment on this channel. See you next time.